Greetings and welcome, everyone. I am Dr. Wolf, and this is the spoiler talk for the recent MLP movie. I have put together a spoiler-free review, which you can check out by looking in the description below. I've left a link. I intend to get into some very deep discussion about character motivations and locations and what this might mean for MLP's future. But in the short of it, for anyone who hasn't seen the film just yet, I definitely recommend it. For even just the wonderful visuals alone, it is such a treat to sit in the theater and take in that breathtaking animation and the backgrounds and even just some fun music and clever comedy. It is worth it. Go see it if you haven't already. For everyone else, let's talk a few spoilers. First of all, the very first moment when I realized, oh my goodness, they actually did that, was when Derpy, and I suppose her show official name would be Muffins, was the one who jumped in and saved Twilight from being turned to stone. I couldn't believe they actually did that. They gave her one line in the movie, just Twilight! And I had to do a double take, and I was like, wait a minute, oh my goodness, that is her. Holy cow. And any average moviegoer is not going to realize the significance of that. But I'm really glad that the MLP writers and show staff put that in there. Just that one little bit in there, because it actually does mean a lot. It really does. Just that one moment. Anyway, though, moving on to particular characters. As I've said in my spoiler-free review, half of the new characters, it's kind of hard to even remember their names because they don't leave much of an impact. I just saw the movie this evening and I'm having to scratch my head to remember even some of them. I remember Tempest, main villain. She's working for the big bad, but she is the main villain, and they do give her a bit of a backstory. They do give her a bit of a motivation. They do give her a bit of an intimidating presence, and they do give her a bit of a redemption. I was hoping for more. I was hoping that there would be some genuine words behind what she was doing. It's passable, I suppose, but I don't know. The redemption actually does have a legit motivation behind it. Because, hey, she was genuinely betrayed the way that Twilight was genuinely betrayed by other characters earlier in the film. And she managed to have her redeeming moment, which, now that I think about it, they actually did go through with destroying the Storm King. I wasn't sure if they were gonna do that. They broke apart the Storm King into pieces. And even during the credits, they kind of put him back together and then he fell apart when his name came up. A bit morbid when you think about it, but hey, I suppose it works. I think out of all the new characters, the one that actually left the most impact on me was Capper. Capper, aside from Tempest, probably has the most screen time out of all the new characters they've introduced in this film. And yet, he probably has the most development. He has just as much of a quick turnaround as Tempest. He probably has just as much motivation as Tempest. But at the same time, I find him more interesting than Tempest. That may have to do with his personality, maybe it has to do with his design, maybe it just has to do with the fact that he has more comedic moments. I don't know, I just find him much more of a memorable character. Especially when, hey, he decides to be a little more clever than Tempest. Who would have thought to use Spike as a flamethrower? During the ending battle, hey, Spike is a good deal more useful than a lot of other fans would have thought he'd be. Oh my goodness, there was another genuine moment that, oh wow, I wouldn't have thought of that. Twilight and the rest of the crew, the main six and Spike, they're falling out of the sky, and here I thought, oh, they're gonna make a parachute. Well, yeah, I guess that would work. No. In a moment of brilliance, hey, Twilight takes Spike and immediately starts heating up the air inside the flap. I wouldn't have thought of that. That actually adds a bit more creativity to their escape. I think that's pretty good writing, yeah. The fact that they suddenly come up with the idea, oh no, the balloon ran out of hot air, so they have to climb the stairs on the island so Rarity can have her overly dramatic moment. It seems a little convoluted, but at the same time, we get to see Rarity have her overly dramatic moment, so it's fair. I did mention in my spoiler-free review that the pacing issue, it's not terrible, but it is certainly noticeable. And especially every time they're moving to a new location. They get on the pirate ship and they're introduced to the crew. It takes less than a minute for the crew to say, oh, we're in the employ of the Storm King, and Rainbow Dash starts singing and they start getting into their pirate gear, and then Rainbow Dash gets into a sonic rain boom. Oh, they're found by the villains. Oh, they gotta start hiding, and oh my goodness, they're moving so quickly. Oh, got to get to the new location. Quick, quick, quick. It's a very noticeable issue, but it's not enough to break my enjoyment of the film. It's a consistent distraction, I suppose. They get into the Sea Pony Kingdom, which, let's talk about that for a bit. Silver Quill, there are now official hippogriffs in the canon of MLP. And I'm very curious to see how your character is going to react to that. Combining their species with that of the sea pony culture, that can add a lot of interesting twists to the lore of Equestria and MLP's future, and I want to see what they're going to do with that in future episodes. We have gotten some hints that in Season 8 and beyond, they are going to be bringing these characters from the movies into the regular series, including Princess Skystar, which is actually another character whose name I can actually remember. She's she's a bit of a Pinkie Pie personality, just a bit of one. A little overly enthusiastic, a little bit, hey, you want to see my seashell necklace? Hey, you want to see my seashell portraits? Hey, you want to see my seashell wastebasket? My seashell buddies. A bit entertaining. I will say Twilight's attempts at stealing the orb, I could tell that it was coming, even though I hoped that there would be something that they would do to get around it. And when it actually came along, I realized, yeah, they are following the same beats we've seen in a lot of other movies where you have to have that moment in the end of the second act where the main characters are at their lowest point, where they start getting into a fight with one another and they get separated from one another, and Twilight has to have a good cry. I realize that it's kind of movie 101. I just wish they could have been a bit more clever about how they were presenting it. Just a bit. It could have been a lot worse, because when Twilight was yelling at Pinkie Pie, they could have just left it at that. They could have just had that moment where her friends went their own way and Twilight went hers. But I did appreciate that they added one more line. That Twilight says, I just really need to be alone right now. That made a really significant bit of difference in making the scene feel not quite so terrible. Not quite so cliche, I suppose. Because it did show that even in her lowest moment, Twilight was showing that she understood what she was doing was wrong. Twilight did show that she was not completely giving in to her frustrations. She was asking for a bit of understanding. And I did like that. I did appreciate that. Going back to the Storm King, Tempest Shadow, I guess it kind of makes sense that Tempest was trusting the Storm King to restore her horn. I guess because they were setting up that Twilight and the rest of the company were kind of trusting Capper to keep his word. And yeah, there was a bit of an issue with the sea ponies trusting the main six, bringing them into their kingdom, and then Twilight was trying to steal their orb, and it was showing yet another example about, hey, you shouldn't trust them either. It was a kind of running theme. I can understand why they were setting it up, and I can understand, hey, it makes sense that the main villain was falling into this same trap. And hey, it makes sense that in the end, it's all about you can still trust in your friends even in your greatest struggles. I get what they were going for. I can still wish that they could present it a little bit more competently, though. I can still wish that when they're presenting a motivation for a villain, especially for Tempest, that it isn't just about, hey, my magic is not working the way it does for other unicorns, and I feel like they're going to just reject me from now on, so I'll reject everybody else. And even with the Storm King. What is his deal again? I'm going to take over the world? Why exactly? I mean, they were trying to bring in the fact that he was kind of a silly comedic tyrant, sort of, but I don't know. I didn't really feel a thing for him. Except the fact that they broke him into pieces at the very end. That was the only bit of impact that was left on me about his characters. That, okay, they actually killed him off. Other than that, I don't think he's actually going to be something I'm going to think about in the future. Which is a bit of a shame because, hey, like pretty much every other character in this movie, it's a really great design. It's a really interesting looking character. And the way they make him move, and the way they make him interact. The animators did a bang-up job with every single scene and every single character and every single background, every little intricate detail. Holy cow, they're spinning the camera, they're going up and down and around, and I gotta be able to look at this again because I feel like I've missed so much in all the little backgrounds. It is a visual treat to look through. I just wish that the story could back it up just as interestingly. But in the end, I suppose I still had a lot of fun. It still made me laugh. And honestly, I think the biggest laugh came from the one main six who probably had the fewest lines in the entire film. Fluttershy. Final battle scene, she's going toe-to-toe with one of the henchmen, and you think that she might try to run away or they might bring out the stare, but instead she comes up with these big round eyes and says, "Do you want to talk?" And the very next scene you see this henchman in tears, and I don't know, I have to believe that Fluttershy could really pull that off. I'm sorry, but one moment, it really cracked me up. I think it cracked the rest of the theater up more than any other joke, too. Out of every single Pinkie Pie-ism in the entire film, and trust me, there's a lot of them, and they certainly made me chuckle, it's a Fluttershy moment that actually made me really laugh out loud. That moment just really caught me off guard. So bravo to any of the writers who came up with that. At any rate, though, I did enjoy what they did with the new locations, the new races, and even some of the new lore. I am very interested to see what they are going to expand upon in the eventual new episodes of the show, like they've been hinting at. But most of all, I really want to see more movies like this. And I'm hoping that with more movies like this, they can have the confidence to go for a more in-depth story. They can use this film to introduce the world, the characters, to go on a very quick pace because they think they need that to keep the kids' attention. But try to have a story with that deeper connection, that deeper struggle, where it isn't quite so clear-cut about good guy, bad guy. I know these characters can handle it. They've done it in the show before. And I love to see this animation style again. I would really love to. As for the rest of you, I would like to hear your thoughts on spoiler territory in the comments below. What were the characters that left the greatest impact in your mind? What were the greatest comedy moments that left the greatest impact in your mind? And what are you hoping to see in MLP's future, given what this movie has shown us thus far? Let me know. And as per usual, I am Dr. Wolf, and I look forward to hearing from you.